Joshua Staman, welcome to the show. Not that this is officially a show.
Not yet.
Not yet.
One day.
Yes.
One day.
Director of PinIt, among others.
Yes. I'm the writer director of the internet sensation PinIt.
Yes. And some of my other favorite movies, namely It Gets Bigger, but we'll get to that.
Okay.
Some of your finest work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
I consider all my work to be my finest work, so
Good.
that works.
Good. Why don't, before we get into what you're doing now, you can tell us a little bit about your background.
Let's see. All right. Cool. My name's Josh Staman. I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona. I went to. I was one of those kids that just went to the movies all the time. I got all the DVDs. I watched all the commentary, and I went to film school in Chicago, Columbia College. Got out here in 2007.
Hold on. I'm going to interrupt you. Two things. One, would you say you were obsessed with movies as a kid, or did that come later?
I was very much obsessed with movies as a kid. I remember the first movie my dad took me to that sort of opened the doorway to me. It was he took me to see Braveheart at the Cine Capri,
Wow.
a movie I do not love today, but at the time,
Wow.
at all, I don't love it at all.
Wow.
I think it's actually kind of dull, but I had never seen anything like it. It's like super dull. I don't like it really, but
Okay.
at the time I'd never seen anything like it. It's just huge. It's this
Yeah.
huge, giant, epic, and that was May of two that no May of '95, and that year I saw like just everything. I saw every movie, and I kept doing that until recently, since I moved to Los Angeles, and then I stopped watching
So
movies all
So
the time.
you have known from an early age that you wanted to be involved.
Yeah.
And did you know, but what specifically you wanted to be involved in? Did you know specifically how?
I wanted to make them. I didn't really know what exactly, in what capacity. I saw Braveheart, and I was like, this. And through the process of watching movies, it got more refined, like what I wanted to do. I remember seeing, like, I saw Rushmore, and that was a huge moment for me because I realized it wasn't what story you tell; it's how you tell it. Because I love Wes Anderson, but even that's like kind of an interesting movie for him. But I fell in love with the choices that you can make in telling your story. Something like Eternal Sunshine is a movie that's just full of so many interesting choices. That was another movie where it was just all about I can't believe somebody wrote this, and I think it was around that time where I was like, yeah, I really want to write and direct. And, the industry has changed a lot. And so, my ambitions have become a little more malleable, but that's always been the goal.
But never theater, never.
Yeah, I mean, I liked theater. I liked acting. I was a fan of acting in middle school. I was in the plays, and I liked performing. I've been in a few movies. But I don't know. I've just always felt this like drive towards sitting down and writing something and then going out and making it. Like
Okay.
that's
So the web is. I'm sorry to interrupt.
no,
The web.
yes, I know.
For you.
Yeah, well, I spent a lot of time, since coming out to Los Angeles, I spent a lot of time working on screenplays, and I got some amount of attention. But honestly, the thing that has gotten me the most attention, or the thing I always lead with in emails is, "Hey, I made this thing." It was
Yeah.
on the internet. It was like I made this short called OK Cupid, and whenever I email representation or whoever, I'm like, hey, what's up? This is a project. I'd like to take a meeting. I'd like to get coffee sometime. Also, I made this thing. It's called OK Cupid, and I send it over, and it tends to work. So I would definitely encourage people make a funny thing that they can send to people in an email, because people would much rather watch a 2 or 3 minute funny thing as opposed to read 120 pages.
Sure.
for a first impression.
Definitely, you're going to get their attention in a really memorable way with a 2-minute video.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so then you go to Columbia College in Chicago, which is I consider, very prestigious film school. Did you enjoy your time, and do you think film school is worth it?
Yes, I enjoyed my time. I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona, and going to Chicago, in your early 20s from there was this incredible culture shock. I became for growth. Film school is really important. I'm not sure if that's enough reason to go, but for me, what I mainly got out of it was networking. I met so many people that I still keep in touch with and work with, and growth as a person was important as well. Would I recommend go? And I'll say this not defensive of the school, but in support of the school. As soon as I left, they created a pretty incredible digital comedy track because it's so close to Second City. Yeah, like if I had held off on going in a couple of years, I could have taken a track on how to do, admittedly, the things I learned to do anyway. But it's a great school for a lot of reasons, but now one of them is if you like comedy and you like making comedic content, there's a lot of resources available to you. When I went there, a lot of the cinematography teachers were from the Czech New Wave, and they didn't. I think a lot of them weren't aware the internet was a thing. Film school, it depends on what you want to do. I think if you want to be involved in cinematography, probably you have to, right? Like, because you need that hands-on experience with cameras. I'm sure it's possible to just buy a camera, but these days camera equipment everything is so prosumer ready that I think having that network is important. I don't know what's involved in like working from the ground up as a grip. For writing and directing, I don't know. I think it depends on the person. I think it depends on what you want to do. There are so many resources available now for just screenwriting in general. If we're just talking about that I'm not sure you totally need it. I think it helps because of the main thing you get is the doors that it opens for you. And for that, I hear, going to like UCLA or USC might be a little more beneficial. I would look at it first and foremost as a networking tool, and for the connections that you get there.
All right, that was a good answer.
Was it?
Yeah, I liked how you separated. If you're a camera person or something, you probably should. I actually think I went to a vocational school for editing after college, and I got much more practical knowledge from a vocational school than I did from 4 years of college.
Well, editing is, don't go to a film school to learn to edit. All you have to, go to a vocational school, learn how to edit there, come out to Los Angeles or anywhere and be like, hey, that thing that you don't know how to do, I can do it. And,
or hate doing it.
Here, and they'll just throw you work and underpay you until they don't underpay you.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, it depends.
All right. What do you consider yourself, like, give me the top 5 jobs you consider yourself, and there's going to be a follow-up to this.
Within the realm of film, right? Like within the... Yeah, okay. Prostitute. Honestly, the thing I consider myself the most is just a writer. I think there was a while where... writer. From an early... I wrote my first script when I was like 14. I didn't know what I was doing. It was a compulsion. I just felt like I had to just sit down and write about me and my friends. I don't know if I'm great, but I know I'll do it. And I know I'll do it until I get better. So I write first and foremost. I guess the next thing is I love directing. And there was a time where I thought of myself as like, I'm a writer and director equal. But, in some ways I think you have to be very privileged to be able to make that the main thing that you do. Or just a lot of luck. I think my career is going to be a lot of writing. And then directing, if we're talking like features, I hope to do a couple, I'll definitely get that done. In terms of directing, it's largely going to be to get the things that I want done, that I write, that nobody else will make/buy. Let's see. Weirdly, I've gotten cast in like a few movies. I don't know if my third thing is acting, but I've done it a weird amount. For somebody who has like not a ton, I guess I like it. So then there's that. I guess Adobe Premiere has definitely made editing next. It's a dream. Are you sponsored by somebody that's not Adobe Premiere, by the way?
I'm not sponsored by anybody that's anybody.
Why didn't you had any connections? Like I should, or
I have connections with all of them.
All right, cool. So yeah, editing. I edit my stuff, and I've edited for other people, and I like doing reels. And then I guess after that.
All right, hold on. I'm gonna stop.
Sure.
Okay.
Am I giving long ass answers?
Well, that one was long, but that's okay. I'll stop you like this when they get too long.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Why is it that in Hollywood so many people have so many roles? They'll tell you down to the molecule that they study. Like, oh no, man, I only study neutrons, not electrons, and that's somebody else's department. But like with filmmaking, everyone has like 5 hats.
I think.
Why?
The internet. I'm going to give a very short answer. It's a destabilized time. I don't think that was always the case. I think that there was a time, like you look at people like Ridley Scott. I could be wrong. I think he started. I'm sorry, James Cameron. Maybe Ridley Scott too has a production design background. You'll see some directors start as one thing and they take that background and they carry it over and it informs their work. I think that Hollywood used to be a machine back when film was the dominant art form that we consumed. That's not the case anymore. I think the internet has been massively destabilizing for all tracks, and now it's just so competitive. I think you have to know how to do everything. I also think that because of, ever since digital cameras made everybody a filmmaker, that's the best thing about cameras today. You know, everyone can be a filmmaker. The worst thing is also everybody can be a filmmaker. There's just so much competition, and people are getting started, I think, sometimes with a little less experience, so you have to you have to wear those hats to be able to do everything because you're not working with an army, you're working with a small battalion. So It helps to be able to give very strong, quick, concise direction. So I think it's that the internet and the independent scene and competition.
Okay. All right.
Necessity is now a better friend to you than ever. You have to learn how to do everything.
Let's talk specifically about PinIt. First, where did the idea come from?
My sister made me do it. My sister is an incredible actor out here in Los Angeles, and my best friend, and she had been out here for, I think at that time, like 5 years, and she didn't have anything for her reel. And she was starting to get, through her workshops, a lot of connections. She had nothing. And
after 5 years?
Well, because you have to make your own. So that's the challenge for actors. You can take all the workshops in the world, but people want to see what you do. And so do you hire people to make stuff for you? Sometimes it turns out bad, or they're flakes. So it happens a lot. I've seen a lot of very talented actors. It's like, well, it's been 10 years, and they still are trying to put projects together to show to people. It's sad. But when you have a brother that you can guilt into making shit for you, it's a lot easier. So, can I say shit or not? Are we going to try to... Okay, cool. So she was like, I need something. I need something to show people. So, I've always been like fascinated with, I guess, things that millennials do. I'm not sure if I am one, but I write women a lot, and I've always, the thing that's always been fascinating to me about Pinterest is it doesn't end; it keeps going forever.
Hold on. You write you write women a lot.
I do. I write. I just finished a screenplay about a woman. I like writing female characters. Increasingly, I find male characters boring, and I find things like Pinterest interesting. I just find it interesting because there's, like I said, there's just no end to it. I find DIY stuff interesting, and I had to find something that we could just pull off and shoot over the weekend, and I called in all the, and so we came up really quickly with the idea of a girl who becomes obsessed with Pinterest, and because I'm doing it, at the end it results in the police showing up and shooting her. And I think I reverse engineered it from the line at the end, which is "It won't stop until you're fucking dead." And I called in all the favors that I had. That's the good thing about going to a film school like Columbia. You know a lot of camera people, and they're down to shoot something for you because they want to see what you're gonna make. And it turned out pretty good, but
all right, hold on, slow down.
Sure.
Let me start with the last line. So it won't stop until you're fucking dead.
Yeah.
Okay? That's the only swear anywhere in the whole movie.
Yeah.
Intentional or not?
No, she says bullshit.
Oh yeah, you're right.
She says bullshit. Yeah.
Okay. But you always thought like she's gonna get shot.
Has to die. Must die.
Must die.
Must die.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about that ending anymore?
I mean, I have a dark sense of humor, and for me, PinIt was the first short that I did where I felt sort of, because I'd done a few shorts in the past, and I felt like I felt like I had to. They were more conventional narratives, and with this one, it was my first foray into doing a narrative sketch, and so I wanted to end with a punchline, and that felt like that's everything I have to say about Pinterest. It's never going to stop. It's radically unhealthy, and it's going to destroy your life. I only half believe that. I don't think it has to destroy your life, but I came up with that, and I was like, that's the end. It has to be the end. And then it was finding the right elements of the spiral.
Okay.
Which we did in like a week.
We've had some teachers ask about that. And then, okay.
About what?
About the ending.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like where it came from?
Yeah, because it feels a little out of left field. It's like, oh my God, they shot her?
Yeah, she's dead. Yeah.
Okay.
In retrospect, I maybe could have explained. I thought it was like just because she was so out of control that she had been on a spree, and it's left your imagination why the cops are there. I maybe could have spelled it out more, but I didn't care. I just didn't care.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
I don't think it matters.
Yeah.
But despite your limited resources with good friends, you were able to have some real success with PinIt. And do you want to talk about some of the film festivals you got into and what it was like?
Yeah, yes, I would. Well, first I had a comedy channel called Sad Tire that I put it out on, and it became our biggest hit. We got about between 30 and 40,000 views. The Huffington Post picked it up, and some other places too. And it got into Holly Shorts and LA Shorts and the Napa Valley Film Festival. And it did pretty well. It got into some solid festivals. I've done. It's one of the most ramshackle productions I've ever been involved in. So the fact that it ended up any good, the fact that it ended up anywhere is incredible. Like no matter what I do after this, the amount of professionalism to success ratio will never be sweeter than that. That's the one, for sure.
So you found your inner Judd Apatow.
Just keep it simple.
I guess, yeah. I don't always listen to that model. I should, but yeah, that was a simple short, for sure. Very
Okay.
like really clear, no, almost no waste. Nothing like everything that we shot, some of it made it in.
Okay, let's talk generally about your sense of humor because I love that you said it was a dark sense of humor. I'm gonna name some of your other projects because I think people will really like hearing this, and maybe
Right.
I'll link to them.
Sure.
The first one is cooking for vegans and other horrible people.
Okay.
And
Do you
then,
want to comment on each?
No, hold on. And then it gets bigger.
which is I laugh every time I've ever watched.
I feel dirty and guilty every time, but I laugh.
Thank you.
And then you recently had your feature film, The Dependables.
Dependence Day.
I'm sorry, you're right. Dependence Day.
That's right.
And you had my favorite joke that in the whole movie that Jamie and I still use, which is nobody has $500 right now when your friend comes over asking for it.
So, okay, tell me about your sense of humor.
You can talk about each of these individually if you want or together.
Sure. It depends. I don't know. I do. I think it depends on the project. I really like. So on the one hand, I like things that are there's an absurdism to it. One of my favorite shows is Man Seeking Woman. I don't know if that really caught on, but I love escalations. I love sketch escalations where it's like, oh, now we're here. I like making that leap. Yes, just a big leap. Like now we're doing this. But I also love human comedy. Like I think there's a warmth to what Apatow does. I love that he's now turning that towards women as well, and it's working just as well, if not better. I also, I'm a kid who grew up watching, like, my dad showed me Annie Hall. Like, as soon as he showed me Braveheart, he was like, all right, but we also have to do this now. So I like verbal comedy as well. I don't know. It really depends on the project. When I do short form content, it either tends to be more like PinIt is darker. It's a sketch. It has a punchline. That's it. Something like It Gets Bigger. That's a comedic PSA. So that's largely what kind of shit can I get away with just saying? Like, can I just let the things that I say carry it? But then I also there's something charming about whimsical humor as well. I did a short called Jogging Leads to Ice Cream, and there's something really tongue-in-cheek about it. So I don't know. Maybe I'm still figuring it out.
No, I should have mentioned Jogging Leads to Ice Cream because it also it's just like 1% dark, It just, you know what it is? It shows like all of your projects really, they show like the weakness or like the failure of like the human to police themselves.
I want to change my answer to that because I'm very obsessed with failure, and it's very important to keep that in check, or else it becomes like that. I think you just touched on something. If I keep failure in check, it can come off as sweet. If I don't, then it's a short where my sister gets shot by the police at the end of the movie for a reason that we don't know. Yeah, failure.
And
That's it.
Failure to police yourself.
Failure to police yourself. I like that.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna hang on to that forever. I'm gonna hang on to that forever. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so great.
Mhm.
I'm gonna. This is, I guess. I hope it's not a short interview. It's a little short. It's like only about maybe 20 minutes. But
I feel like, we've gotten to the crux of everything. I have one question to leave this on that I think you're really going to enjoy answering, which is, you of all my friends and Jamie's friends
are very introspective person, and I want to know what writing your own writing has taught you about yourself?
It's okay to brag here.
What do you do? Yeah. Before we leave you, the deep end of the pool. I don't know. Number one, I am not as. I think that writing requires. That's either a really good question or just a real shitty thing to ask somebody.
Let me baby. I can baby step you into this.
Yeah, sure.
Do you
I don't
consider
mind
yourself?
that.
Do you consider yourself funny?
Yeah. I'm sure I could give a funny answer, but yeah, I do. I think I'm pretty funny.
Do you feel like through like the hard work of writing that you've learned like how to be funny? Or do you think
I
that
think I'm.
No, I think that what I've learned is what I've learned about comedy through writing is I'll think that something is very funny on the page, and it turns out it's scripted. I think that I think off the cuff. I think there's something. The funniest stuff I ever write is the most off the cuff stuff, and then you might find out later, oh, I can't use that. So, I have an elephant's graveyard of very funny things that the world is just never going to see because they don't matter.
hopefully we'll make the Vic's books. I love that. I still love that idea.
What, Vic's books?
Vic's
Oh,
book.
yeah. No, it wasn't Vic's. It was NyQuil books.
Yeah,
NyQuil books. Yeah, people just read it and they're just like, oh, okay. Yeah, my girlfriend is just the most voracious reader in the world, and I spent all my time on like deadlines or just watching things. I'm getting to the point where if I read for long enough, I'm just like, I'm gonna fall asleep right now. So it's an auto critique as well.
Okay,
I wish.
I'll leave you on a easier, more standard question, which is,
Okay.
do you have any advice you want to give someone who is maybe between the age of 20 and 30 and considering the film industry as a career?
Oh, here's. Oh shoot! Hold on. My girlfriend just called me. I want to answer the writing question now. That informs my writing question. You have to writing is it's a compulsion, and it's something that I think we're driven towards. It's so important to live and to gain experience. Before I came out to Los Angeles, I thought I was ready to like write the biggest projects in the world. It took through years of living and experience and failure. I know I'm a better writer now. So don't be afraid to, like, even if you fail, if it informs your personality and growth and you think that there's a chance you can write something with a better understanding of the human experience afterwards, just be like, welcome that, because it beats crying about it. What would I tell anybody between the ages of 20 and 35 before getting into the film industry? I would say it's whatever we were just talking about with regards to it's not enough to be like, why do you have to wear any hats? Don't settle for one. Don't even think you can just wear one hat. You have to be a hyphenate. You know, if you want to be a director, you have to also be an actor and a writer. Really get used to the idea of doing everything. And if that doesn't sound like fun, you can make a lot of money in the stock market, and you can probably have a lot more fun. So, really enjoy I haven't worn half of the hats that I should. So, really like the idea of wearing hats.
Josh, you answered that question really well, and I want to leave it. Yeah, and I want to leave it at that because we're in a good place right now, and you want to end up here. Say nothing. No, I'm just kidding.